Hey, what's up out there in Tubeland? I'm Jeremy, back with Uppercut. This is part 4 of mixing Dark Ride. I went through on all of these VCCs and just added a little bit. You go through channel by channel and check that. And also you go through and do the same thing with your VCC, the tape machine and the VCC, and just kind of attenuate that. And I've done a little bit of pre-mixing with just EQ mainly.
Nevermore will I fall for anything but the guilt inside of me. I won't beg, I won't crawl, time after time, burning bridges, fire in my soul, burning bridges, forget about control. I must confess, there's something wrong with 9 to 5. Burning bridges, fire in my soul, burning bridges, forget about control. All those wishes, I am the only one. You burn the bridges I relied upon. You think you know me? You think...
Let's go back to this chorus. Start the mix on this, the real mix. This is a vocal preset that I like. It's a distressor pulled back to where it's only half in the mix. That is parallel compression right there. Half.
Burning bridges, fire in my soul, burning bridges, forget about control. All those wishes, I am the only one. You burn the bridges I relied upon. Burning bridges, fire in my soul, burning bridges, forget about control. All those wishes, I am the only one. Burning bridges, fire in my soul, burning bridges, forget about control. All those wishes, I am the only one. Burning bridges, fire in my soul, burning bridges, forget about control. All those wishes, I am the only one. Burning bridges, fire in my soul, burning bridges, forget about control. All those wishes, I am the only one. Burning bridges, burning bridges.
Trying to take some of the punch off of that burning.
Burning bridges, fire in my soul, burning bridges, forget about control. Burning bridges.
also go in and split that track. Give it a little bit of a fade just to bring that down.
Burning bridges, burning bridges, burning bridges, fire.
With all the backing vocals, you're not going to miss the B of his burn, so you might as well fade that down. Maybe kind of make it match the rest of the track so it's not so jarring when he comes in.
Burning bridges, fire in my soul. Burning bridges, forget about control. All those wishes,
It's pretty bad on every track that he does.
all those wishes, all those wishes, all those wishes. All those witches, all those witches, all those witches, all those witches, I am the only one. All those witches, all those witches, I am the only one. All those witches, I am the only. Witches, I am the only. All those witches, I am the only one. To burn the bridges I relied upon. All those witches, I am the only one. To burn the bridges I relied upon.
We all do that at the end of our notes. Ugh. All of us. Every singer ever.
You think you know me? You think you got everything under control? No.
All right, now let's do that parallel compression trick on the drum bus. So we're getting a little too slappy there, and it'll also give it some vibe. I use the gray a lot. FG gray. And that is on my shells bus. I want it, after the EQ. Put the EQ first, which we haven't even touched yet. I have a drum bus setting that I've saved. Has a very fast attack just to take off that first, and then I mix it back in and out of. Right now it's comes set at 50, but we'll see. Let's solo out the drums. As you can see, I try to drive it about where it's hitting, about half, about right here. And since I have it parallel, set it around, I don't know, 44%, it's only compressing about halfway. And I do that on a lot of stuff. I don't hardly ever compress anything except maybe vocals all the way compressed. And snare maybe, but then the snare goes through everything goes through a bunch of different layers of compression. So everything, on my mixes, everything is parallel. But here's where it gets tricky. This rear bus here that I told you guys about, the Andrew Ships, I'm going to pull this all the way down. And then I'm going to add a send from every bus except the drums. So it'll say rear bus. And that will be a send coming from the bass to the rear bus. But I will put one on all the bus tracks. In Reaper, you can just drag them over. I don't know. I can't remember how it is in Slow Tools. I gave up on that shit pretty quick. I have it, though. Anyway, like I said, I just leave it full blast on all the buses. And then I come back and let's solo out the bus. And then I want it to hit about halfway and 0 on everything. As you can see, the vocals kind of affect it more than anything else. That's what you want. And it's just effect compressor on its own bus, sending everything in parallel except for the drums. And on Andrew Shep's analog console, he had a reason for doing this, and I guess he just liked it. And so did I, obviously. So we'll bring this all the way back down, unsolo it, and then mix it into the mix. So we'll toggle it on and off, and it's pretty subtle. You want it to be subtle. You don't want it to go maybe not even up to 30. Now to counter that, and I'll open up my effects bus here, I will send, since the drums aren't coming to the rear bus, my counter to that is to send the shells to the saturation bus. And then mix that in. So let's just solo the rear bus and the saturation bus and mix those in. You just want to hear that kick in the snare really good. And then also on the saturation bus, I double up and send it the same amount, the bass. So with just this saturation bus and this rear bus, it's like its own separate parallel mix underneath the entire rest of the other mix. Let's hear it all. Let's hear the full thing. And I can solo out just the rear bus and just my effects. And that way you can monitor exactly what your effects are actually doing. And I really try not to overdo that stuff. It's real easy to get lost in ping pong delays and all that fancy stuff. But to me, it's also easy to lose the mix too. I'm gonna kind of collapse this stuff down. get it all kind of on one page. So let's give it a listen and just kind of tune these volumes in a little bit more. I leave all my effects tracks on 0 and I adjust everything through the send. That's just how I do it. Bass is slapping real good with that saturation on it now. Come back on the next episode and we're going to dive into this mid-range because as you can see, and we'll check it on span. Which what I find strange, and it could be my room, who knows, but there's always a dip on my mixes that I do right here. I think that's because all metal guitars are scooped because it doesn't do that when I mix country. So, and like I said, I've only been doing this 2 years. I'm not a master scientist, but come back and we'll dive into this mid-range because the magic is in the mid-range. Believe it.